Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's wife I will never consider naming my child after her recently deceased mother? Original post. I'm currently 29 weeks pregnant with a girl. My husband and I have already chosen her name, as well as 2 backups in case it doesn't suit her. My dad's wife lost her mother a little under a year ago. They were extremely close, and her passing was unexpected, so she's not coping well. My husband and I are trying to be as helpful and accommodating as possible, but we don't live in the same country as them anymore, so there isn't much we can do. Back in February, my dad and his wife came to visit us for 10 days to celebrate our son's birthday. This was our first time seeing them after her mother's passing, and their first time seeing me pregnant. Early during the trip, we had dinner together. We all started talking about my pregnancy and the baby, and when my dad asked if we had any names in mind, his wife stopped us. She asked us if we could consider naming our daughter after her mother. She said she had been wanting to ask us this since she learned we were having a girl, and it would mean a lot to her if we could honor her mother like that. I don't think I have to justify why I wouldn't do that, but in case I do, I never liked her mother or thought of either of them as family. Even if I did, my husband doesn't like the idea of using our children's names as tributes, so we wouldn't name them after any of our deceased loved ones. My husband and I were taken aback. My dad looked a little awkward, so I think he was already expecting her to bring that up. I said I was sorry, but we had already chosen the name and weren't interested in changing it. The mood died a bit, but we did manage to change the subject and enjoy the rest of the evening. My dad's wife was quieter than usual for the next few days, but she didn't bring it up again until the final night of their trip. Everyone was at our place. She pulled me aside and, once again, expressed how perfect it would be for us to keep her mother's memory alive by naming a child after her. She started talking about how much she would have loved it and how a beautiful name such as hers shouldn't go to waste. I interrupted her and said there was 0 chance we would ever consider naming our child after her mother. I told her it would never be up for discussion, and for her own sake, she needs to accept that and stop bringing it up. I was admittedly harsher than I'd intended, but I'm not sure she would have gotten the message otherwise. She barely spoke to me and my husband until she and my dad flew home the next day. My dad and I have been talking about this. He agrees with our refusal. He didn't really like his mother-in-law either, though he never admitted it, but thinks I shouldn't have turned his wife down like that. He told me she's still dealing with her mother's passing, and I should have been more sympathetic. He's insistent she wouldn't mind our daughter's name if we at least told her we'd consider honoring her mother. I don't think humoring her would have been the best call, but I am worried I was too harsh. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. You owe her nothing, especially since you just call her dad's wife, so she doesn't even sound like a close stepmom. It's sad that her mother died, but what does that have to do with you or your unborn child? Don't let her emotionally manipulate you into changing your mind. My dad started seeing her when I was already in college, and he wasn't interested in remarrying at the time, so I never really registered her as family. I did live with them for a little while, but we had wildly different personalities, so we were never really close. Not the a-hole. She didn't take no when y'all politely said it, so harshly was the only way to get your point across. It's always weird when someone asks you to name a child after someone. It wouldn't even mean the same if you didn't do it, because you wanted to. When my son was born, my dad joked that his name was available, but didn't say anything besides that, and didn't complain about the name we actually chose. He later told me it was a joke and he always thought that was a bad idea. An adult who is middle-aged, not getting over the death of a parent like this, needs help from a professional. Again, they were extremely close. They'd take trips, go to concerts, and spend hours on the phone together, even after I moved out. I heard her refer to her mother as her best friend once. Back when I lived with them, she would call her mother multiple times a day, almost always just to narrate what she was doing. We're going to the restaurant. We got to the restaurant. We're ordering. We're eating. We're going home. Not the a-hole. There are only 2 people who have input into what name a child receives. The parents. Should people make suggestions? Well, in my opinion, only if the couple asks for them. You handled the situation well the first time she mentioned it, and she should have taken no for an answer. You had no choice but to be firm the second time. She should have let it go after the first time. Some of my family, including my in-laws, was miffed when we didn't take suggestions while naming our son. He was the first grandchild, so I chalked it up to excitement at the time. Now for the update. Hey guys, I came here for advice a few months ago. I gave birth to a healthy baby girl back in May. She's now a month old and thriving. We're all in love with her. My husband and I decided to go with our first choice for her name. Truth be told, the backups didn't stand a chance, and it suits her perfectly. My dad stopped bringing up the subject of how I'd talked to his wife a few weeks after my first post. The last thing he said about it essentially boiled down to, be nice to my wife, but for the love of God, don't name my granddaughter after my mother-in-law. He wanted to visit us this month to meet the baby, but I told him to wait a while longer. The house is a mess, and we're still getting used to having 2 kids. His wife has been very detached from anything that concerns my daughter. She spent the weeks leading up to my baby's birth radio silent. She usually lives on her phone and texts frequently, so I figured she was still upset. Both my and my husband's families like our daughter's name. My dad in particular complimented it a lot. His wife did not react to it. My aunt visited them recently and later told me that while my dad would show her pictures and videos of my daughter, his wife avoided the topic entirely and was cold whenever someone tried to get her to engage. To be clear, none of that ever bothered me, but this behavior was very out of character for her. When I was pregnant with my son, she created a group chat with my whole paternal family and her mother to start a countdown for his birth. She was my only acquaintance who protested when I said I didn't want pictures of my child posted online. About a week ago, my dad's wife called me. She reiterated that she felt I wasn't being very understanding of what she's going through, but apologized for how cold she's been lately. During the call, she explained that losing her mother had made her regret her decision not to have kids. Her mother had always wanted to be a grandmother, and she wishes she could have given her the opportunity to experience that. She took her mother's passing very hard, and it made her reflect on various things she wishes she'd done differently. But the news of my second pregnancy intensified that regret in particular. My dad's wife said that she'll always wish I'd named my daughter after her mother, but still accepts the name I chose. She also told me she'll start seeing a therapist soon. I was mostly quiet during the call because, frankly, I didn't know how to react. Having since had time to think about what she said, I'm a little freaked out. It's still hard to explain how I feel, and this isn't even close to my top concern right now, but I didn't see this coming. I almost feel bad admitting this, but I'm very glad we're in different hemispheres. I can't imagine what she's going through, and I wish her nothing but the best, but I don't think being close to my family right now would be good for either of us. Thinking back to how I handled things when she first asked us to use her mother's name, I'm pretty sure I made the right call. I sincerely wish I'd been more polite, but humoring her would have probably led to a much bigger headache. I'm not sure when we'll see her again, but it won't be until next year. My dad will come visit us in October, but she won't come with him. When she does meet my daughter, I hope she's doing better. Right now, I'll focus on my children. Postpartum sucks, and my husband and I are still getting adjusted to being a family of 4, but we love both our kids so much. I don't know how I got so lucky. I almost definitely won't post again. I am very tired and very busy, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Thank you. Edit. To those asking, I'm freaked out because I wasn't expecting her reasoning to be that she regretted not giving her mother grandchildren, as I stated in this post. I sympathize with her grief, and I'm glad she's decided to get help. I think your stepmom was and is going through grief from losing her mom. She was hoping that by you naming your daughter after her, it would make it feel like she was still around. You did well by not naming your daughter after her. The good news is, she realized it, has apologized, and is seeking some grief counseling. I got my boyfriend a bracelet that has a small picture of his dad in it. His is a black leather braided strap with a small silver circle with the picture. You have to hold it up to the light to see the picture, so it's more the knowing what it is that makes him feel it. There are all types you can get. I chose a more masculine design, but there are more feminine ones you could find. I did a Google search and found the style I liked. The gift could be an apology for being harsh, but also a nice token of, I know you're going through it, and thought this might be a nice way to help you carry her with you. I'm very glad she's decided to start therapy. I feel like acknowledging that you need help is a necessary step, but actually going through with it is harder than it looks. I have a different experience with grief than she does. There was one specific time in my life in which I lost many of my loved ones very quickly. I've discussed that in therapy, but I regret not working through it sooner. Not the a-hole. That wasn't an apology. That was a justification for her actions. She still thinks she is in the right and probably believes you are doing a disservice. Money down, she refers to the child with her mother's name back in her area. I wouldn't let that happen. I don't doubt that. Good luck with the little one. My best piece of advice, don't let her arrogance control your life. This isn't impacting my children in any way right now, so I think we'll be okay. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go home to my parents even after they called the cops and CPS? I, 16 male, went to my best friend's house 3 weeks ago and refused to go home even after my parents got CPS and the cops involved. My parents are still fighting to bring me back to them. They talked to my best friend's parents, and the adults had a several hours long talk. Afterward, my parents told me they'd change and they wanted to make things work. But I told them I didn't trust them, and that living with them comes with so much negativity and rejection that I'd rather be someplace where the people around me want me there. My parents told me they want me and that they never ever said otherwise. I said they did a crappy job of proving that to me, and then my parents told me I was punishing them for the actions of other people. The reason I left is basically my whole life's worth of family issues. My dad was divorced when he met my mom, and my mom's first husband had died. I think it was a year after my dad's divorce and 2.5 years after my mom lost her first husband when they met. My dad had 2 kids and my mom had 3. My half-siblings are 13, mom's oldest, 10, mom's middle, 9, dad's oldest, and 8, mom's youngest and dad's youngest, years older than me. My half-siblings hated their step-siblings and their step-parent. Before I was born, there was a ton of fighting. It got worse after I was born. None of my half-siblings liked me, and when I was 6 months old, my dad's ex-wife died, which created even more problems and hate, according to extended family. I don't know all the details, but when I was 3, my parents left me with my mom's oldest to babysit, and she left me in the house alone. My dad came home and found me, and my half-sister was nowhere to be seen. When mom confronted her about it, she told her she'd left maybe 4 or 5 hours before. It was something my extended family on dad's side talked about for years after, and I'd hear it being brought up every few weeks. Apparently, when I was little, a bunch of my toys were broken by my half-siblings. They'd kick or smash them so I couldn't play. I don't remember them doing it, but my dad admitted it happened, and he told me once he was glad it stopped by the time I could remember. I remember a lot of fighting, and I remember my half-siblings being really mad at me when I had no idea why. They always told me to stop calling them siblings or half-siblings, and to say we weren't family because we weren't. And I'd see them fight each other, step versus step, and then say the same mean stuff about me, but they still hated each other too. Whenever I was left with them, they would either lock me in my room or lock me outside a few times. My parents knew about it, but they kept leaving me with them. Other times, my half-siblings fought our shared parent because our parent would offer to drive them somewhere, and they'd say no way because they didn't want to be in the car with or next to me. My dad's kids even threatened to open the car door next to me and let me go if they had to sit next to me. Whenever I had a family birthday, they'd refuse to join in and would say stuff like they'd rather be dead over my dead body. I don't give a damn about him, or why would we celebrate nothing? They all moved out eventually, but my parents still saw their own kids a lot, and they'd join in for family celebrations as long as they weren't my celebrations. They'd always make a point of not being close to me. They refused sibling photos with me and their steps. At Christmas, they would come and bring gifts for cousins and leave me out. My extended family never cared more than my parents did. All my extended family were good for was telling me more about the stuff that happened before I was born or could remember. When my mom's oldest got married, she told my mom I wasn't invited. Neither were the steps. And Dad wasn't welcome either, but she guessed she couldn't stop her from bringing him as a +1. My mom and Dad forced me to go anyway, and Mom's oldest made a point to let it be known I wasn't wanted there. They tried to bring me to a baby shower for her too, and her husband would not let me in. Dad's oldest got married, and they forced me to go to that uninvited again. This time it was a smaller thing, so they refused to let me in, and my parents tried to fight it and basically made me watch as I was rejected over and over again the whole day. My parents still let my half-siblings into their house, where they were nothing but mean to me. My half-siblings who are married have spouses who ignore me. My mom's middle kid is getting married, and again I'm not invited, and my parents were planning to pull the same stuff again. They planned it even though she was rude when she came to our house like a month ago. My parents said I'm their sibling and all this other stuff. I realized they would never do better by me. That's why I left, and why I refused to go back. I don't trust them to stop putting me in those positions, and I don't believe them when they say they'll change. My parents told me I need to be home and not with my best friend's family, and as my parents, they can demand I go home. I told them even if my best friend's parents change their minds, I won't go back to them, and their house isn't my home. They told me I'm being difficult and putting my best friend's family in a bad place. My best friend's family told me it was good with them for me to stay, and my best friend's mom told me it would be better if I stayed. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I have family that still won't talk to each other at least 5 years after CPS had to get involved with them. It's a hard situation, and feelings get very hurt when outside forces have to be involved. You're hurt, and that's very valid. Them calling the cops and CPS made me realize that stuff like that should have been done when I was left on my own at 3 for hours, or when I was locked out as a little kid with no way to get back inside. But nobody cared then, and my parents doing it now when I'm safe was really annoying. Have you told them that? Have you asked them why they are involving CPS now that your toys aren't broken anymore, now that your life and safety aren't threatened anymore? If you want to let all of your frustration out, you could ask a meditation and therapy session where you can spew everything they allowed to be done to you without them having the chance to say that's disrespectful or fair. I did. They told me they were so sorry they didn't act sooner and they'll change. But I don't believe them. Maybe that sounds jaded, but it was only a few weeks ago they were insisting on forcing me to another wedding I'm not invited to and not wanted at. God, that's awful. I was pretty sensitive to rejection as a kid. I can imagine how badly this would affect you. To be forced into that situation again and again by your parents, a few times could be clueless, but it feels almost mean-spirited to make you the brunt of so much hate. You were and are a child for Pete's sake. Not the a-hole. Stay where you feel safe. I hope the best for you. May you be free of all of this and gain a found family who treats you with the love you deserve. My parents would always skip talking about the rejection and go to how I deserved to be there, that I was family, I'm the sibling and stuff, as if that made up for being rejected at every turn. The fact they could be so obvious about it shows that people around them know and support it too, so it's not like I'd have a good time even if my parents forced me in.